Welcome to DarkfilesTV. Emergency calls come from phones. They have numbers. They have sources. This one didn't. The voice was real. The fear was real. But the call came from nowhere. The file was sealed. The explanation was never found. One rule remains. If the call comes from inside the system, do not answer. This is DarkfilesTV. New case files coming soon. Emergency call centers are designed for chaos. Operators are trained to process panic, confusion, and fear in real time. They follow strict scripts. They listen for key details. They make decisions in seconds. False calls happen every day. Prank calls, dropped calls, accidental dials. Operators learn to recognize them quickly. That is why the first call in this case was not treated as unusual. At 2:17 a.m., an incoming call reached a regional emergency dispatch center in the United States. The system logged it as a standard voice call. No signal interference. No routing errors. No flagged anomalies. The operator answered using protocol. Emergency services. What is your location? There was no immediate response. Instead, the line carried breathing. Heavy. Uneven. Close to the microphone. This alone did not raise concern. Many callers hesitate before speaking. Some are hiding. Some are injured. Some are simply overwhelmed. The operator waited. After several seconds, a voice came through. Male, low, strained, not shouting, not hysterical. The caller spoke slowly, as if choosing his words carefully. I don't know where I am. The operator followed procedure. She asked for his name. There was a pause, breathing again. Then the caller spoke. I can hear something moving. At this point, the call was upgraded internally, not because of the words themselves, but because of the delivery. Experienced operators learn to listen beyond language. This voice did not sound theatrical. It did not sound exaggerated. It sounded focused. The operator asked whether he was indoors or outdoors. The caller did not answer directly. Instead, he said, "It's closer now." That statement altered the tone of the call, not because it implied danger, but because it implied awareness. The caller was not reacting blindly. He was listening to something. The operator instructed him to stay on the line. She asked him to describe his surroundings. Concrete? Metal? Open space? There was another pause. The caller inhaled sharply. I don't think it's supposed to sound like that. The operator asked him to explain. Before he could respond, a sound came through the line. Faint at first. Rhythmic. Wet. Deliberate. Not footsteps. Not fabric movement. Something slower. The operator documented the audio in real time. She asked if anyone else was with him. The caller responded immediately. No. There was no hesitation. That response would later be reviewed repeatedly. Because people who lie under stress usually hesitate, this caller did not. The operator initiated automatic location tracing. The system responded instantly. A stable signal. Fixed coordinates. No drift. No bounce. The location mapped to an industrial zone on the outskirts of the city. An area dominated by abandoned warehouses and closed facilities. At 2 hours, 17 minutes and 36 seconds a.m., exactly 36 seconds after the call connected, the line went silent. No disconnect tone. No static. Just absence. The operator attempted a callback. The number did not ring. It did not redirect. The system returned a message that should not have been possible. Number not assigned. This was not the same as out of service. The system recognized no origin point. And yet, a call had clearly occurred. Dispatch units were sent to the coordinates as a precaution. When responders arrived, they found nothing. No people, no vehicles, no open buildings, and most importantly, no phone, no electronic device, no signal source. The incident was initially logged as a routing error, a rare but explainable glitch. The case would have ended there. But at 2:43 a.m., the emergency line rang again. Same breathing, same voice, same location. And this time, before the operator spoke, the caller said something new. Something that would prevent this file from ever being closed. I think you heard it too. When the second call came in, it was routed to a different operator. This detail matters. Emergency systems are designed to distribute calls evenly. There was no reason for the second call to reach the same person. Yet, the content of the call was unmistakably familiar. The breathing was the same. Heavy, uneven, close. The operator announced herself. Before she could finish the sentence, the caller spoke. I think you heard it too. The operator paused. This was not a typical response. Callers usually react to the operator's voice. They ask questions. They repeat themselves. This caller did neither. Instead, he continued speaking as if the operator had already been listening for some time. It didn't stop when the line went quiet, he said. The operator asked him to clarify. There was another pause. Then the caller said something that immediately raised concern. You didn't hang up. It did. The operator flagged the call as high priority. She asked for the caller's location. Once again, the system traced the signal. The coordinates matched exactly. Same industrial zone. Same fixed point. No variance. This should not have been possible. Mobile signals shift constantly. Even landlines show slight inconsistencies. This signal did not move. The operator asked the caller if he could see anything around him. The caller answered slowly. I can see the walls now. The operator asked what the walls were made of. The caller hesitated, then said, They're not finished. This description was vague, but not incoherent. Unfinished walls suggested an interior space, possibly a warehouse, possibly a basement. Responders were dispatched again. This time, units arrived faster. They searched the same buildings. Same result. Empty interiors. No lights. No signs of recent entry. No sound. Back on the line, the operator asked if the caller could hear the responders. The caller answered immediately. No. Then, after a few seconds, he added, But it hears them. The operator documented the statement. She asked what he meant. The caller did not answer directly. Instead, he said, It stopped moving when they got close. This was the first time the caller implied the presence of something else. The operator asked if anyone else was in danger. The caller responded with a single sentence. I don't think it knows what I am. At exactly 36 seconds, the line went dead again. Same duration. Same cutoff. Once again, the number did not exist. At this point, the incident was escalated internally. Supervisors reviewed both calls. They noted the similarities. Same voice pattern, same breathing rhythm, same duration. The audio was overlaid. The breathing matched almost perfectly. This was not coincidence. Breathing patterns vary even in the same person. Stress changes rhythm. This breathing did not change. At 3:09 a.m., the third call came in. This time, the operator did not speak first. The caller did. It's closer than before. The operator asked what had changed. The caller responded, I can hear it thinking. This was not logged as a direct quote initially. Supervisors later corrected that mistake. Because the caller had not said, I think. He had said it as a statement. The operator asked if the caller was injured. The caller answered, "No, not yet." That answer triggered a silent alert. Not because it implied danger, but because it implied expectation. The call ended at 36 seconds. By the fourth call, the emergency center was no longer treating this as a glitch. It was treated as a pattern. Calls were recorded, audio analyzed, timestamps compared. Every call occurred within a narrow window, between 2:17 a.m. and 4 a.m., always 36 seconds. Always the same location, always the same voice, always the same breathing, and always one new detail. Something moving, something listening, something waiting. The case file was formally opened. Audio analysis is rarely part of emergency response. It usually comes later, when calls are reviewed for training or legal purposes. In this case, analysis began immediately. Specialists isolated the background noise. At first, it sounded like static, but when slowed down, patterns emerged. The sound was rhythmic, not random. There was a cadence to it, a repeating interval. Not mechanical, not electronic, organic. This conclusion unsettled analysts. Organic sounds usually have variation. This one did not. The rhythm was consistent across calls. Even when the caller's breathing changed slightly, the background sound did not. Analysts enhanced the audio further. What emerged was subtle, but unmistakable. The sound was not coming from the caller's side of the line. It was being transmitted alongside the caller's voice, as if both were sharing the same channel. This raised a technical problem. Emergency systems do not merge signals this way. One source per call. Unless the source is not a phone, investigators attempted to recreate the signal. They brought multiple devices to the mapped location: cell phones, radios, satellite units. None produced a signal. No reception, no carrier response. The area was effectively silent. And yet, calls continued. At 3:46 a.m., another call came in. This time, the caller spoke less. He sounded tired, not panicked, exhausted. "It doesn't like the light," he said. The operator asked him to explain. The caller whispered, "It changes when I look at it." This was the first time the caller implied visual contact. The operator asked what it looked like. The caller paused longer than before, then said, "It's not finished either." The call ended. Investigators noted something new. The caller's voice was changing, not dramatically, but subtly. Each call sounded slightly less human. The cadence slowed. The inflection flattened. It was as if the voice was learning how to speak, not expressing fear, but reporting observations. The next call broke the pattern. It lasted 41 seconds. This should not have happened. The system recorded the extra 5 seconds clearly. During that time, the caller said only one thing: "I think it knows your voice now." The operator asked who he meant. The caller answered, "All of you." The line went dead. This call forced a new interpretation. Until now, the calls seemed isolated, focused on the caller's experience. Now, the language had shifted outward. The caller was no longer just describing something happening to him. He was describing something learning. Audio analysts replayed the background sound again. This time, they noticed something else. When operators spoke, the rhythm changed, very slightly, as if reacting, not mirroring, responding. This detail was documented quietly. The file was restricted. Only senior staff had access. At 4:22 a.m., the emergency line rang again. This time, the caller did not breathe. There was no sound at first. The operator announced herself. Silence. Then the caller spoke. But it was not the same voice. It was closer, clearer, less strained. "It's easier now," the voice said. The operator asked who was calling. The voice responded, "You know." This answer violated protocol. The operator asked for clarification. The voice replied, "I used his mouth." That sentence triggered immediate escalation. Supervisors cut into the call. They attempted to trace the signal. The system responded instantly. Same coordinates. Same impossible stability. The operator asked where the original caller was. There was a pause. Then the voice said, "He's quiet now." The background sound returned. Louder than before. Closer. The rhythm faster. The operator demanded to know what was happening. The voice responded calmly, "I think this is how it works." That sentence would later be replayed dozens of times. Because of its structure. Not emotional. Not threatening. Experimental. The operator asked a final question. "What do you want?" There was a long pause. Longer than any previous call. Then the voice answered, "To keep the line open." At exactly 36 seconds, the call ended. No further calls came in that night. The emergency center logged the incident as unresolved. The file remained open, but inactive. For now, after the final call at 4:22 a.m., the emergency center went quiet. No follow-up calls. No callbacks. No unexplained signals. For nearly 3 weeks, nothing happened. The case file remained open but inactive. Reviewed occasionally. Never resolved. Supervisors assumed the incident had ended. That assumption would prove wrong. At 1:11 a.m., exactly 21 days later, the emergency line activated again. This time, no incoming number was registered. The call did not route through a phone network. It originated inside the emergency system itself. No breathing. No background noise. Just a voice. Clear. Neutral. "I don't need him anymore." Operators froze. System logs confirmed something impossible. The call had no external source. It was generated internally. At 36 seconds, the line disconnected itself. Engineers ran diagnostics. No breach. No malware. No system error. Audio analysts replayed the call. The voice matched the previous recordings. But the tone had changed. It no longer sounded afraid. It sounded complete. The case file was sealed later that morning. Official reason: unverifiable signal anomaly. Unofficial note, added by a senior supervisor: if it calls again, do not answer. The line has not rung since. At least, not officially. Months after the file was sealed, several operators reported something unofficial. During night shifts, they claimed to hear the emergency line ring once. Not a full incoming call. No routing alert. No system log. Just a single ring. When checked, there was nothing recorded. No timestamp. No audio file. Supervisors dismissed these reports as fatigue. But the reports kept coming. Always after midnight. Always once. Never logged. Years later, during a routine archive review, an analyst noticed something overlooked. Every confirmed call in the case had ended at 36 seconds. Except one. The final internal call ended at 35. The disconnect was initiated early. Not by the system, by the caller. The implication was subtle but unsettling. The line was no longer required. The case remains officially unresolved. No suspects. No explanation. No confirmed source. The emergency system has never produced another internal call. But the standing instruction remains unchanged. If an unregistered call originates inside the system, do not engage. Do not respond. Do not speak. Because the last time someone did, the caller learned how to stay on the line. And this time, it may not hang up. End of case file. Dark Files TV.